Hi, today I'm going to be talking about the thumbnailing and penciling process of my eighth Creative Alchemy comic. Hi, my name is Escobar. I'm a storyboard artist in the Simpsons television show. I've been working on the show for over 25 years now, and I'm here to empower you. So I'm going to be talking about the creation of this comic from the beginning. This is going to be the first video. Second video is going to be the lighting process and the creating of selections, and then the third video is going to be the finishing process, where I'm gonna color the whole thing and add some finishing touches, and then that will be that. The video that you're going to watch is compressed. It's sped up of the process. The actual process itself from beginning to end was about 20 hours. A little bit less than 20 hours, but it's about 20 hours. So I've compressed it down into about 6 minutes. So it's going to go really, really fast. This comic took me off and on about 3 months because I only did it in small bite-sized chunks. So whenever I had a chance, I'd do 20 minutes here, 15 minutes there. Sometimes I would get a whole hour, but usually it was done in multiple days for multiple weeks. And in fact, I even took a break later in the process for a whole month. So it took way longer than it ought to. And one of the lessons that I learned from doing this comic is that, or comic strip, because it's supposed to be a comic strip. It's supposed to be have a setup and a gag, and that's it. It's supposed to be simple, but it's not. Like, this is the one that kind of made me realize that I can't set up the jokes too long. I can't take too many panels. I can't do the many panels. I'm going to do my best from now on to limit the panel count to about 5, because this panel count was around 11 panels. That's too much. It takes too long. I can't be doing that. I'll have to figure out a way to make it so that I force myself to only do 5 panel strips, so that I can get more done faster, and it doesn't take me 3 months. This should have only taken me about a month. Lesson learned. So here's the process. As I tend to do with all of my comics, I start with importing the script, and then I start thumbnailing on the script itself. Once I finish thumbnailing, I actually grab my thumbnails and put them in the comic the way I want them to. So I start creating pages, and then I start actually adding word balloons to the actual thumbnails, and I build the comic from the thumbnails themselves, using panels, creating panels, kind of having like just a rough idea as to what is going to happen. So like you could see that I just have bubbles, heads and shapes and stuff like that, and I'm actually putting all the dialogue in right now, trying to figure out what the comic is going to look like. Here I have a reference that I'm using to just solidify my thumbnails a little bit more for when I actually start drawing. So one of the things that I tend to do, the reason why I tend to do that is because that way I could see the whole rough idea of the comic before I actually do it. So here I am in Blender, and because I created this background using CG because it's so complicated, I'm just setting it up so I could take a screen grab of it, so that I could just plug in the screen grab into the panel. This took quite a bit of time, actually. So here is the very first drawing that I did. I have the model sheet not only in the comic, but over on the left, and so that I could and once I actually import the photo or the screen grab of the CG background, that's usually I still need to figure out the perspective. So I actually figured out the perspective of the CG background in order to place the characters where they needed to be. And I placed the characters where they needed to be using the model sheets as my size relationship guide. And as you can see, I still have the model sheet underneath the drawing. And then using the model sheet is a bit of a quick, faster way I already drew the character once the way I want. So I use the model sheet as kind of like the guide to how, so I don't have to like reinvent the character every time. If I've already drawn it, why not use it, right? It just saves me a lot of time and trial and error trying to get all the characters to quote unquote look on model the way that I've already worked out the way I want them to look. That doesn't mean that I just use the model sheet as is, in which I mean they're not just standing there looking like the model sheet. I do create different attitudes, different poses for the characters so that they have expression. Though the way that I use the model sheets is mostly for proportions, because every character in my comic has different proportions, and I did this on purpose. They're not idealized proportions, they're very unique to each individual character. So because I use very individual characters for each the very individual proportions for each character, I need the model sheet underneath each character in order to make sure that their proportions work the way I want them to. I put a ton of work beforehand on the model sheets, having their heads turn in 360 degrees. This took forever. So the reason I did this was just to solve drawing problems before they were even created. So I knew what the character was going to look like if they were looking in a specific direction, working out the hair, working out the clothes, working out all that stuff. All those drawing problems have already been worked out. So it actually saves me a lot of time, which is one of the reasons why I like to use the model sheets and the character heads that I have already created, so that I could very quickly just create the character the way I need them to be. And here is where the model sheets don't always work all that great, because especially in a down shot, like an up shot like that, I still have to create the way the character would look like from underneath like that. But the proportions are what's important with the model sheets. And here I am tightening everything up using the explosion effect that Clip Studio Paint helps with. And fortunately for me, and here I'm working out these panels, trying to work out where everybody is. Even though I thumbnailed things out, I'm still making decisions when I'm doing these final pencils. Do I need any more characters? Do I even need backgrounds? In this case, I decided a single background was going to be it. I was going to use the background in panel 2, as you saw me with the CG background. That was the only place in the entire comic strip where I was going to draw a background. The rest of it is going to be white, blank backs. That way the audience can fill in the blanks themselves. They know where they are. I don't have to constantly be reminding them exactly where everybody is. They understand that where the characters are. Besides, the characters are the most important thing in here anyway, so it doesn't really matter where exactly they're standing in the background. And and all of these characters, they're generally in the same place, so a lot of fixing, a lot of adjusting. So that's basically this was my whole entire penciling process. Roughly posing out gestures of what I want the character to look like, using the model sheets underneath to get all the proportions and characters to look on model, and then finishing up the drawings. Well, that's it from me. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next time.